From middle to early high school, I struggled with suicidal ideation, depression, disordered eating, and other mental health challenges. And for the longest time, I felt so isolated and alone in my rural community where conversations about mental health were non existent and access to care was limited. I also remember dealing with the stigma associated with men's mental health, further complicated by my sexual orientation and queerness. I remember going to bed each night and wishing to wake up straight. Fortunately, at 14, I was able to volunteer with Youthline, which is a peer to peer hotline that responds to calls, texts, chats, and emails from young people across the country. And I think it was that moment that I realized I wasn't alone and that my mental health challenges were a microcosm of these much larger public health issues that were affecting hundreds of thousands of young people across the world. And knowing that I wasn't alone and that other people shared similar struggles really changed the world for me, and it really motivated me to seek help and to ask my parents to see a therapist and to even consider taking medication. So it was really big for me. I think the first step for me was to identify a safe and trusted person I could tell. I remember feeling so overwhelmed at the thought of telling someone that I was considering harming myself, and just finding someone who would understand what I was going through and who wouldn't pass judgment on me for what I was facing was so important to me. I'm from a really small town in Oregon called La Pine. It's about 3,000 people and about 30 miles away from the biggest town. And a big thing for me growing up and when I was starting my help seeking was that there was only one mental health clinic. And I don't know, I felt uncomfortable going to that place for the fact that it felt like everyone in my community was going there as well. Knowing that this was kind of the main hub and that if I was ever seen going there, I would be stigmatized and possibly ostracized from my community really scared me and prevented me from talking to others for a while. I really attribute the teen to teen helpline in helping me get the courage to ask my mom for help when we were driving home from one of the shifts, actually. I just come off a really intense shift of dealing with a suicidal person who had, taken efforts to end their own life. And I remember just thinking about it, looking through the window on the way there. And the shining moment for me was that even though that person was in such a dark place, as they described it, they still wanted to ask for help. It was the idea that someone else could do it, same age as me, same identities, same history, same struggles. And if they could do it, then I could do it too. I remember I was shaking so much and I asked my mom, I just said, if I don't do this now, then I don't think I ever will. But mom, I need to see a therapist. When I was initially looking at options, I had only heard about talk therapy and medication. And it wasn't until I had volunteered in the peer support space that I realized that was an option. And while therapy is certainly part of my help seeking journey, I think peer support is ultimately what saved me. And knowing that I wasn't alone really empowered me to overcome the challenges that I faced. I think peer support is so powerful for the fact that it uses relatability as a tool for recovery because someone shared their story with me and it helped me save my life. So if I can do that for someone else, there isn't anything I wouldn't do to be able to do that.